Good evening again. Again, Frank Sorick, for the record. I'd like to talk once again about rental inspections and the importance of rental inspections. In 2011, I came here asking why all 8,343 rental properties in the city aren't being inspected annually or biannually as required by our rental inspection ordinance. Then in 2012, I came and asked a similar question with the response to increasing crime at the Sherman Hills complex. That place is like a war zone. At this point, I think President Obama should nuke the place, but unfortunately, we're not going to. So, that being said, we need to, at very minimum, get Carol and Joanne in there. These are wonderful rental inspectors here in the city. They inspect my properties, and these two women, I can't speak highly enough about what they do. But with us not inspecting that place, I'm getting reports as taxpayer president that there are human feces in the hallways up there. Mr. Barrett, you've responded with the same concerns. I don't understand how it's skirting the law. I just can't. Just because it has 344 units and 341 assisted living units, that's ridiculous. Inspect the place or condemn the place. I don't care which. If we inspect it, they're going to pay revenues to the city, and it's going to help our bottom line. If we're not inspecting it, start citing them $500 a month or $500 a day, whatever you would do to me if I decided not to inspect my place. I mean, what else can we say here? Let's get rid of it. As far as the towing contract, my question to council is I wonder why we haven't set rates for the city of Wilkes-Barre. Why doesn't this council pass an ordinance that would determine the rates that a towing contractor, regardless of who they are, if they work for the city, they're the exclusive tower, let's set a rate and say $175 is the rate that they can charge for a tow. I don't care if it's an accident. I don't care if you ran over whoever. $175 is the maximum for that tow, and storage fees will be X amount starting on X amount on whatever day. And that's it. It seems cut and dry to me. Council has the power to set legislation, and the towing contractor would have to follow it. That's the bottom line.
Sherman Hills, we've had discussions with the administration very recently. Very same concerns that we have. We have been informed that there is a plan in place to address that without going any further. We are going, as you alluded to, we have mentioned it previously, and we will work together to address that situation. It can't continue.
I feel sorry for the officers who have to go there.
We talked about that earlier this week. We're going to see how this plan works out, and hopefully it will address part of the problem there. The other situation that you talked about, the towing, this council, not this council, the council last year passed a towing ordinance, you may remember, that regulated towing in the city of Wilkes-Barre. It did three things. It required the businesses that do tow in the city to be licensed with the city. It capped rates, as you just mentioned, for certain fees, including towing, storage, etc. And it also addressed the issue of predatory towing, and that seemed to be the most controversial part of that particular ordinance. The ordinance, at the request of the administration, was suspended. It is a valid ordinance. It was passed by council last year. And it was suspended because of concerns as to how the predatory part was going to be enforced and whose responsibility it was. But we've had discussions about this ordinance. Council has very recently. It is one of the few things that council can do to regulate this industry. It is a business. I just mentioned this to somebody a little bit earlier today. They said, why would you want to regulate a private business? Well, if I walk into a store and I don't like the price of something, I can go somewhere else. But when somebody tows your car, you can't go anywhere else. Those rates are capped in a lot of cities, including State College, which tows more vehicles than we do. Of course, the city of Philadelphia. We're not telling somebody how much they can charge. We're only telling them that they can't charge any more than a certain amount. And if they do violate that, then they risk losing their license. So that ordinance, to summarize, that ordinance valid, it is suspended by council now because of those concerns. It would address many of those issues. I think it's time that it be looked at again. I mentioned it to our solicitors as well and my colleagues, and I think that it's something that we need to look seriously at getting back into. It's not going to correct anything that occurred in the past, but it is something that council can do to prevent those types of things from occurring in the future. We looked at numerous cities, looked at what they charge for certain fees and rates. This was last year, and came up with what was believed to be in council agreed and passed that particular ordinance. We weren't trying to put anybody out of business. We were trying to protect people that did have their vehicles towed. So there was some controversy about it, some questions about it. It was suspended. To me, I think that a large part of that ordinance is not in its entirety should be looked at as far as being reenacted. So
I agree.
I looked at it earlier this week, and I think that it's something that would possibly put an end to this for the future. And as you said, if the towing, if you don't like the rates, then don't tow in the city. As simple as that. So
Thank you.
thank you. Any comments on this?